Hello, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RCSuGuy with the Nautilus Drydocks.com. I am sporting a fancy new haircut that I just received this afternoon. I feel like I'm looking pretty sharp. I am going to turn with like continuity during these live streams when I go off my wireless. So I'll go off of cellular data and we'll see if this works. Thursday, the 29th of April, 2021 at 6:30-ish p.m. 2000 and... Let's try that again. Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been a long day. I apologize. Holy cow, 15 people in like a heartbeat. That's awesome. Thank you for joining me. If this is the first time that you have tuned in to the RCSuGuy's YouTube live, thank you for joining me. I very much appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me for the next hour-ish when we talk about RC submarines. So typically what I do, I'll give you a little update from the dry docks here so you can understand who I am and what I am doing. But then I'm going to open it up to you guys. And you can ask me your burning RC submarine questions. And I'll answer them in real time to the best of my ability. I do not profess to be expert in all aspects of RC submarine construction, but I've built a few. Quite a few. So odds are good I'll be able to answer your questions. I'm at the shop, zipped back here from the house so that I'd have an opportunity to show you what I got going on in the shop. And that's how I usually start things out here on the RCSuGuy live stream. So, hey, let's get started. Yeah, I'll go ahead and switch this camera around. My workbench. Prototype for the new upcoming 300 series sub driver. Sitting over there, almost ready. Then we're going to be going into production. We got a 48th scale Swedish Sjöman class submarine. This is going to a customer. It's already bought, paid for. The cylinder for that is sitting on the workbench here right now. This was scratch built by the original builder. It's pretty cool. Gas ballast system in here. If you guys follow my channel, you'll have seen this boat before. The cool thing about it, if we go back over here, it's got this this X-tail rudder system right here. Very much like the German 212, which is a great segue because this is a German 212 in 1/30th scale. And I don't know if I can capture the scale of this. It is absolutely massive. I think this is about 10-inch beam on this particular boat, and it's probably almost 6 feet long. We've begun the layup. For any of you that have never had the opportunity to see them, this is a hard shell fiberglass mold. I got this one from Lazar Kurzman out of Germany, and it's really cool. He did a great job on this. But this is a hard shell mold. And this is useful for big layups, for big boats that do not have a lot of detail in the hull. So the way that we do this here at the dry docks, we lay up an initial layer of thickened resin, and that becomes the exterior portion of the boat. And then we lay up a 4-ounce epoxy cloth layer on the inside, and the next one is going to be a 28-ounce layer of epoxy for strength. And we're going to bolt everything together, and we're going to dredge some resin on the inside, and this will be a one-piece boat. And the reason that we did that was for maximum versatility for the new owner. You can see some scribed lines in here. So if you wanted to, you could make, an upper lid, or you could split it at the midpoint of the hull. I'm going to leave that up to the new owners. But again, the reason that we do this is because if it were perhaps, to take a while for somebody to get to building this boat, we do not want the hull to warp over time. So if we make it all one piece, it will stay perfectly fine. And anytime you want to take up the project, you simply split the hull wherever you want to, and away you go. So I am super excited about this, and particularly excited about it because it is a big boat, but with these X-tail rudders, which, by the way, produce approximately 1.42 times the control response as traditional cruciform rudders and dive planes, you will still retain a very large degree of control over this boat. It will be a great performer. So this is a product available on the dry docks. This is a prototype hull going out right now. I've had somebody said they'll take it as soon as we finish it up. So that's what we're doing right now in our quote unquote free time. What do we got over here? This is if you guys have followed my product, this is a French Redoubtable class RC submarine, and this is actually 3D printed. The entire thing is 3D printed. Super unique boat. I'm trying to see where oh, here we go. Here are all of the appendages and the sail and all of that fun stuff. So this all goes together, and it makes for a really, really cool silhouette on this particular boat. Steve Hodges did a great job putting together this boat from the 3D files that he purchased from me, and brought that boat out to Subfest last year. And yeah, super cool boat. But this particular one was actually commissioned by a museum out of Greece, and they want to add that to their collection. So we are building this as a static display model for them. So that's pretty cool. How's that? All right. Yeah, Redoubtable. Oh my gosh, this Type 21. This I just get chills every time I look at this. You just need to see this like level of engineering that went into this. I bought this from a gentleman by the name of Jens out of Canada. German individual, and in traditional German fashion, I would say over-engineered absolutely every aspect of this boat. If I understand things correctly, the cylinder itself took almost 2 years for him to build. Scratch-built piston systems with an Engel TAE control system with Hall sensors for full proportional control, pressure sensor. Look what he did with the servos there. We've got a rack and pinion setup that drives. So you've got pure linear actuation of all of the control surfaces for the rear dive planes, the rudders, and then you've got your forward dive planes here. And this again, rack and pinion for the actuation of the boat with a worm gear for the retract system. Like, I am baffled by the level of engineering that went into this particular boat. It's been spoken for, and the this is going to get finished up and sent off to the new owner here very shortly. You can see the upper hull sitting over there. We're going to be weathering it up just a little bit, just to make it look like a real boat before it heads out. What else do we have over here? I don't know if I showed this to you guys before. I used to have a surface boat called the Margie Lou that I got from a guy out of Orlando. And does anybody recognize this particular boat? I mean, there's a huge you've got a big hint sitting right there. The Orca. Yeah, man. Take a look at this thing. I got the hull off of eBay, and I've been slowly picking at upgrading everything, the LED lighting, installing the running gear. That's a personal boat of mine. Hoping to bring it to Subfest this year, Cutta, Georgia. For those of you who don't know about Subfest, Third weekend of September, Cohutta, Georgia. You need to come. It's absolutely awesome. Millennium Falcon. Oh, RCSuGuy from my son, who is picking away at this particular project. Hope to finish this before he heads off to college. So there you go. Man, it feels like a long time since I've had a YouTube live, and it feels like we've had a lot going on. For those of you, oh, I've got this like stand thing in the back I've got to pick out. Oh, there we go. My son, Logan, is 18 years old. He's heading off to college this summer at Iowa State. We're excited about that. He's going to be going into engineering, which I'm happy about. And he's going to be a camp counselor at the summer camp that he has spent a lot of time at. So I am exceptionally proud of Logan. And he's going to have a very, very busy summer. Hope to be able to finish up these projects that we started together before he leaves. So there you go. What else do I have going on? My plane broke. For those of you that don't know, I am a pilot. I have my private pilot's license. And we bought an airplane a little while ago, and it broke in the air, and the fuel pump failed. And finding a new fuel pump for that particular aircraft has been a challenge, but we did manage to find one, and it should be here in the next 2 or 3 days, hopefully. So hopefully I have my plane back, and once I do, I got 2 boats over there. If you've been following my YouTube channel, finished up a 96 scale USS Nautilus and a German Type 23 boat for Warren Wilson. And we're going to be flying that up and sending that out to him with a personalized delivery. And hope to be flying up in August for the fun run in Carmel, Indiana. For those of you who don't know about that, that is the sort of the annual deal for the subcommittee. Carmel, Indiana. The Carmel reflecting pool is absolutely gorgeous. We're talking about like a half a football field of size, crystal clear water, 3 feet deep, concrete sides and bottom. Tons of fun. If you have the opportunity, please, please, please come on out and join us there. So 2 events you need to keep in mind. Carmel, Indiana in August, and that is on the events page of my website, so you can click on that and get all of the information. And then Subfest, 3rd weekend of September in Cohutta, Georgia. So there you go. And the last thing I want to touch on, if you didn't see it, there's this boat here. This is a 72nd scale US Gato class modeled as the Cobia SS 245. And this particular boat had a very eventful last 7 days or so. On Friday, when we took it out to the pond to try her out, her front dive planes jammed because the original builder used some questionable lubricant. Let's just leave it at that. Questionable lubricant for the forward dive planes, and it solidified, jammed the dive planes in a full down position, and the boat went straight to the bottom. We lost it for 2 days in 12 feet of water. Managed to recover it with the help of a diver, and it was actually not too bad in terms of worse for wear. There was maybe 3/4 of an inch of water in the battery compartment, and maybe 3/8 of an inch in the forward, or I guess it would be the rear, electronics compartment of the cylinder. So that is really impressive in my mind. 48 hours at 12 feet. That's a lot of water pressure, and it held up really well. I replaced one servo because it was kind of glitchy. I didn't like the looks of it, and back in full fighting trim. Check out my video on YouTube. I got the whole endeavor on there, so you can follow the story of the cobia and her loss in the pond behind my house. Okay, now I've missed like a lot, so I gotta scroll all the way back to like the beginning, and we're gonna take a look at some questions. That was the updates from the dry docks and some personal stuff for me. So hey, let's see what you guys have brewing. We got lots of hellos. Will I ever build a Sargo class boat from World War II? Maybe. That could be. As it stands right now, there's nothing in the build queue, but hey, who knows? Could be. Research phase of RC submarines. Okay, shameless plug. If this kind of thing bothers you, plug your ears or go look at some funny cat videos for a few seconds. I am finishing up right now my RC submarine book called Diving Deep, Guide to RC Submarines, the construction and operation of RC submarines. It is very much a high-level introduction book talking about RC submarines, the world of RC submarines, the technology behind RC submarines. And I am in the final stages of editing, and I'm going to be sending it out for proofing, and then it's going to be sent out for publishing, and then it's going to be available to you guys. So probably by summer, you're going to be able to purchase Diving Deep, Guide to RC Submarines by yours truly, the RCSuGuy. So yeah, that is pretty cool stuff. I am really excited about it. But talking about that research phase of RC submarines, that would be a perfect way to get started, because it gives you kind of a high-level overview of everything to do with RC submarines. All right. Dive Tribe. Hey, yeah, General Cirque. Circe? General Cirque. Mention the Dive Tribe. If anybody out there is seriously interested in the hobby of RC submarines, you make a small investment of $49 per year, and you get unlimited access to the Dive Tribe videos, and that takes place every 2 weeks, typically on a Saturday at like 3 or 3:30. I can't even remember right now. And it is an hour and a half, 2 hours of RC submarine chat in a live video format. So you're typically going to see at least a dozen extremely experienced RC submarine skippers on board there. So if you have a project, you can show it. If you have questions, you can ask them. If you just want to show off, you can do that. And if you just want to chill, kick your feet back and just soak it all in, you can do that too. It is absolutely not only for the experienced RC sub skippers, and it is absolutely not only for newbies. There is something there for everyone. If that's something that interests you, go to my website right at the top, join the Dive Tribe. You get all hooked up in there. It's a very worthwhile investment. Even I learn a lot at these videos, and I've been doing this for 20 years. So absolutely recommend that you check it out. Okay, let's see here. Building a 190th Virginia. Virginia is cool. I like Virginia. I've got a 72nd Seawolf out over there waiting to get finished up. It's spoken for, but not paid for. Gabe keeps talking about the research phase. Good for you. Too many people jump straight into buying a boat without knowing what they're getting into. So good for you for checking it out in advance before making the investment. What happened to the ship you had that was really detailed? I assume you're talking about the Margie Lou. That was like a fishing trawler. I brought that to Subfest last year and sold that to a gentleman by the name of Casey Thrower, who wanted not only that particular boat, but he wanted my dog, Gracie, too. I sold him the boat, but I kept the dog. And having sold that, I bought the Orca. So that is what happened to that boat. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen build is sitting on the shelf in my study at home, awaiting further attention. Focus, time and attention is on customer builds right now. And unfortunately, my personal build for the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Nautilus needed to be shelved in favor of people who pay me and who put food on the table for my family. So yeah, I am or was building a very cool model of the Nautilus from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I will be finishing that. It's like 60% done right now. Super cool boat, and absolutely it will be finished, just not in the nearest future-ish. All right. Have you ever thought of building a giant sub, like 15 feet? Thought about it? Maybe. I am currently working with a company by the name of Ocean Ways, and we are working on building a prototype hull, approximately 3 meters in length, of a autonomous cargo-carrying submarine capable of transporting cargo across the English Strait. So that's fairly big. 3 meters is not small. But if we're talking big boats, we could look at this boat from Steve Krebs. I think this might be a 32nd parallel Gato hull. It's 10 feet long, obviously 32nd scale. That's a pretty big boat. I'm going to call it big. It's big by my standards, and I think, I think from a lot of other people's standards, that's a big boat. So I am no stranger to large RC submarines. Obviously people have built bigger ones than I have built, but I wouldn't be scared by one. It gives you a lot more flexibility because you can house all of your electronics in watertight boxes, and you can make your control system compartmentalized and modular, so that the implementation is a lot simpler than trying to integrate everything into a cylindrical watertight cylinder such as this one. So yeah, big boats are definitely out there. But you just got to think about that. That particular boat up there was originally built in the 1990s as a full dry hull boat. I want you to think for one moment about the weight of a 10-foot long RC submarine, the amount of water that displaces. The minute you lift that up out of the water, you're lifting that full amount of displacement, and it retains that weight the entire time because that was a dry hull boat. You need to be able to offset the buoyancy of those dry compartments with ballast. And I'm just going to guess, like that was probably 150 pounds, I work out a lot, but I think even that would be a challenge for me to launch and retrieve safely without dislodging something in the cervical spine area of my very valuable body. So yeah, keep in mind, big boats are cool. They look really realistic. They're easy to work on, but oh my God, they're hard to transport, they're hard to store, they're hard to launch, and they are hard to retrieve. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about boats, all right? David Cosford asked about the latest on the 3D files for Ohio. Was working on that actually this morning. Skipjack, as I mentioned, is going to be the next one because that's like 99% of the way done. Ohio, I would say, I'm hoping, the next 2 or 3 weeks. I got those files from an individual who sent them to me. They're very high resolution, fortunately, but they are very, very hard for me to manipulate with the 3D software that I have. My poor computer chugs and dies quite often when I try and manipulate them, but we're making progress. And that will be 1/144 scale in stock form. But of course, Beauty of 3D files is you can scale them to any size you want. So yeah, coming out. Any Gato class subs? I do not have any Gato class subs projects on the horizon. So sorry. West Coast. Okay, great. You got an upcoming run at Yorba Linda Regional Park. That's cool. Awesome. All details for Carmel are in the current subcommittee report, SCR subcommittee report. So yeah, you can absolutely check that out. There is a thread on the subcommittee forums, which is, I believe, subcommittee.com/forum. Or wait, no, forum.subcommittee.com. It's one of those two. I've lost it now. Anyhow, it's there somewhere. If you go to subcommittee.com and click on forums, it'll bring you there to all of the details for the Carmel subrun. It's going to be fun. I hope to fly up there with a couple small subs. It's a bit of a hike for me to drive all the way from Florida, Naples, Florida, where I am based out of, but I hope to attend. Let's see here. Did you buy any RC Mike Patey Draco? Plain? No, I am not a plane guy, RC plane guy, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Dana's RC asked me if I got a plane file. No, didn't. Someone due diligence is asking about the starter kit for the Gato class. So, background for those of you who are just kind of joining in there. All of our previous subdrivers, including the subdriver that was sitting in that Gato class boat there, were engineered, designed, and produced by a very talented individual by the name of David Merriman III. And David, I'm going to say like 5 months ago, ended up with a health scare and basically said, hey, look, I am done. I can't keep producing subdrivers for you. And therefore, my source of subdrivers went away. So I am in the process right now, as I mentioned, redesigning his line of subdrivers for increased production capability and addressing some of the things that I think would make it a more suitable product for the market. And that includes, and where I've chosen to start is the 3-inch diameter watertight cylinder, because this one will accommodate the vast majority of submarines, probably 90% of the subkits out there. 3-inch diameter, however, so if you've got a small boat, unfortunately, it will not be suitable, and that includes the Gato class submarine, which needs a 2.5-inch cylinder. So, the long and short of it is the subdriver for the 3-inch size, which would be suitable for, you know, typical like 96 scale modern boats, or say like a 48 scale type 7 and that kind of thing, will be coming out in the next 30 to 45 days. Available in 2 options, kit form or fully assembled. If you want me to assemble it for you, be prepared to pay dearly, dearly, dearly for it. And the reason for that is that I feel strongly that anybody getting into this hobby should be able to take their cylinder, completely tear it apart, and put it back together again. If you cannot do that, I do not feel that this is the hobby for you. So we're going to offer it in kit form, which is going to be significantly less expensive than the fully assembled form. So that way you'll have a chance to assemble it yourself, figure out how it all goes together, how it works, and you will in the future be able to maintain and repair that cylinder all by yourself without having to send it to me. Cool, right? All of them are going to be offered in that format, kit format or fully assembled. 2.5-inch cylinder for smaller boats. I do not have an ETA on those. I'm doing the best I can. We're like a 2-man operation here, and we got lots and lots going on. All I can say is we'll do the very best that we can, but as of right now, we cannot offer you a product for the Gato class submarine, and there's no ETA. I'm sorry. Okay. Where are we here? Hmm. Somebody, Gunslinger 1875, talked about the Gato that got wedged under a rock. So what happened with that particular boat, the forward dive locked down, down it went, slid across the bottom, wedged underneath a rock. So not only could it not surface because it had positive buoyancy at all times, but we couldn't see it, which was really sucky. Emergency buoy release system. So in my book, I go into numerous fail-safe systems, and there are a few. So hey, you lucky few can get a preview of what we're talking about here. The first and simplest is high-powered LED lights. So that basically means that you've lost your boat and it's at the bottom of the pond. However, if you've got your LED lights running off of an independent power source, such as, for example, a 9-volt battery, odds are good that it may still be operational when the sun goes down. So simply you need to do is just look for the lights and you will be able to recover your boat. Another simple system to integrate, again with a standalone power source, is a pinger. Standalone pinger system, and basically it's like a piezoelectric speaker. You can get them on Amazon for like $9. They're super cheap and very, very loud. So you can put them on a timer, you can have them on a fail-safe, you can have them go off all the time. It's whatever you want. When you lose a submarine under the water, you can hear it. Now, when that boat went down, I could hear the props spinning as clear as though it was sitting beside me. I could hear the props spinning, so I knew it was close. You'll be able to hear the boat. You'll be able to tell if you're getting closer or further away from the boat, but you cannot tell from which direction the sound of the boat is coming. So, because basically water or sound transfers so quickly through water, your little ears that are only spaced 8 inches apart can't triangulate the position of the boat because it's almost instantaneously reaching each of your ears. So with a pinger, basically you'll be able to swim around, listen for the sound. It gets louder, you're closer. If it gets softer, you're further away. So you're playing some Marco Polo with your submarine, but it'll get you in the vicinity of your boat. Another potential option, obviously, is an actual fail-safe that will blow ballast in case of loss of signal for any extended period of time, or in the case of low voltage indication from your battery. Blow ballast, bring it back up. Wouldn't have helped with that particular boat, and it didn't because it was wedged under a rock. Now, back to the, I think it was Gunslinger question, talking about the buoy. Buoy. Hopefully I didn't say that like a Canadian. A buoy. The idea behind it is you've got a float tethered to some fishing line that unspools from your submarine, and that could release upon loss of signal, low voltage scenario, timer, anything that you think of. If you want a really low-tech solution, you could actually have a catch made from a dissolving medium such as a Tic Tac, for example. So it would simply be under the water, it would dissolve over time, eventually release the buoy. You find the buoy, pull your boat back up to the surface. Is it worthwhile implementing? Probably. I've been doing this for 20 years. I built hundreds of RC submarines over that period of time. I could count on my fingers the number of times I've lost a boat. And I can tell you right now, the only one I lost that I did not immediately recover was that one. I had to bring a diver in to bring that one back. All the other ones I managed to find. So is it worthwhile implementing, a highly technical system to recover your boat? It's 95% you'll never use it. But that 5% of the time, if that were to happen to you, you would thank your lucky stars that you implemented it. So you need to make the decision about whether or not it is worthwhile you to invest the time, energy, and resources to implementing a fail-safe recovery system like that in your boat. And it is 100% dictated by the venue that you run your submarine in. If you run in swimming pools, there's no reason. You'll always be able to see the boat. You'll always be able to recover it. Don't worry about that complication, weight, trim, electronics and power and timers and all of that stuff. It's just not worth it. If you run it in a venue that has, let's say, questionable subsea terrain, you may want to invest in such a system. So that is all I can say to that. Hopefully that helped you. All right. Okay. Scrolling. My wife has limited the size of my fleet to the size of my small guest room. I could put a lot of subs in a guest room. You're a very lucky individual. That's awesome. Typically, people are limited by financial means. You've been limited by physical means, so you are in good shape. Okay. Files for the USS Stonewall Jackson, 634. The thing you got to realize about 3D files, you don't just like whap these things out in an afternoon. They take like weeks of work to do properly. And if you sell like 4, especially in a situation where I'm sharing the money, the profits with another artist, you end up so far upside down that it's really not worth it. And it's a little bit sad, but people want the common boats. Russian Typhoon, Type 7, Gato, Skipjack, the common boats. Everybody is like, oh, I want this like super unique boat. I think everybody will love it because it's so unique and there's none of them out there. Well, you know what? The reason they're so unique is because only a very few people know about them. Even fewer people want them, and even fewer people are willing to pay for them. So it needs to be a very common boat, and it needs to be a boat that a lot of people will be interested in. Otherwise, it's just not worth it for us to invest in. In terms of 3D files, the new ones that are going to be coming out: Skipjack, Ohio, Alvin. If any of you have been looking for it, we have very cool Alvin research submarine files coming out. That is a cool ass boat. And we did that because we wanted to offer at least one alternative to standard submarines out there. I built a, I believe it's 1/8 scale. Alvin, if you check my channel, it's one of my coolest videos out there, built from an FX Models hull kit. Check it out for sure if you've not had the opportunity. And then after Alvin is a Japanese midget submarine. So check that out as well. Will an Arc Model Type 7 construction video still be done? Yeah, if somebody asks me to build them one. That's all I can say. Then I'll document it. The next one is going to be, the next build, blog, step by step, is going to be an OTW Oberon class submarine. So that is bought, paid for. It's going to have an OTW dive module, and you'll be able to follow along. Are there files for a Nautilus? I'm assuming you're talking about Disney Nautilus. There are files out there that I have done, and they're all military submarines, and they fall under public use domain. Nautilus, Seaview, boats like that are under something called copyright protection. And so if I were to offer 3D files of that particular boat, be breach of copyright. So the answer is no. You will not find Nautilus 3D files coming from the Nautilus dry docks. Sturgeon class subs are 3D files for Sturgeon. Man, lots of people looking for that. I have a Sturgeon hull coming to me in 72nd scale. I believe it's already been spoken for by actually somebody who used to serve on a Sturgeon class submarine. But David Merriman, who is still very much in the scene, is finishing up Thor's
Matt Thor's master patterns for his 96 scale Sturgeon class submarine. So those will be coming late summer, early fall 2021. No 3D files are currently in the works. All right. I-400, have I ever built one? No, but man, would I love to. I had a Japanese B-class submarine from the Scale Shipyard. I still regret to this day selling that kit because I think it is the coolest boat ever. Those Japanese had such amazing submarines. If they would have used them properly in World War II, we may be all speaking Japanese right now. I shit you not. So, I-400, for those of you that don't know, massive, massive submarine. I believe it was over 300 feet in length with an onboard aircraft hangar. So it had torpedo bombers that it could launch from an onboard hangar. And the Japanese B-class had the same thing, but it was a single aircraft that was in there. There was some historical significance to that for me. If you ever look up the bombing of Estevan Point, British Columbia, there's some rumors that that's what brought Canada into World War II. And the rumor has it that it was supposed to have been a Japanese B-class that did the shelling. Yeah, so I have not built the I-400. I wish I would have built the B, and the I-400 is absolutely on my wish list to build a kit for. All right. Let's see here. Wish there were classes or something of that nature to learn more about RC water components. Maybe you mean RC submarine components. So we got the book coming out and Dive Tribe. There is no such thing as a stupid question. And honestly, the people who are out there, even though they've been building boats, let's say for 20 years, absolutely, and in every way whatsoever, love answering questions from newbies. I'm typically there. And if you have a question about how RC submarines operate, that is your opportunity to ask them in real time and get answered by a whole host of people who actually know what they're talking about. Absolutely worth it. All right. Let's see here. Would a buoy have actually cleared the rock outcropping that my boat was stuck under? I didn't personally see it, and actually the diver pulled it out from underneath before he could actually film it. So if you guys see that, you'll just see it's kind of like blub, blub, blub waters, and then all of a sudden he's holding it. So possibly, you know, at the end of the day, it exponentially increases the opportunity for the boat to be found. So probably would have been a good thing. All right. What sized watertight cylinder for the Seawolf? The Seawolf, well, there's the 144 style Seawolf from Trumpeter. That's a 2-inch watertight cylinder, which I no longer offer. If you're talking about the big 72nd scale Seawolf, that's a 4.33 OTW cylinder with an 8-inch ballast tank. That's what's going to be hooked up in that bad boy. Let's see here. Are WTC that are compartmentalized by bulkheads more reliable than a straight cylinder? You mentioned the water was in all compartments when the sub was recovered. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Compartmentalized watertight cylinders. So this is a fairly typical setup for a watertight cylinder. This is a scratch-built unit that somebody put together, but the idea behind it is sound. You've got a rear motor compartment, an electronics compartment. You have a centralized ballast tank, and you have a forward power compartment. 1, 2, 3 compartments. Compartment number 1 and compartment number 3 are joined together by this conduit because we need to bring power from the power compartment to the electronics compartment where it is utilized. So in effect, this compartment and this compartment are all one compartment. So if you get water in one
it will eventually flow up through the conduit and into the other compartment. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. When building your watertight cylinder or setting up your watertight cylinder, you may want to consider leaving some annular space between the cylinder wall and your electronics. You can see in this particular case there is at least 1 inch of room on the bottom of this cylinder. So basically this cylinder needs to fill up with 1 inch of water before it will begin interacting with any of the sensitive electronics in the watertight cylinder. Same thing in the front, although it is even more. In that particular case, it is more like 1.5 inches. So hopefully that helps you. When you're talking about a single cylinder, watertight cylinder, basically I'm thinking what you're talking about is a single tube. And in the middle, there may be like an RCAB's bladder or something to that effect. Or like in the case of this Type 21, you've got a large central compartment. Actually, the entire thing is a compartment, including the annular space behind the piston tank. This is all, in effect, one compartment. So basically, in both situations, if you've got a leak, you are going to leak everywhere. If it's a small leak, it may be contained to one compartment or the other, but if it's a large one, it will affect all of them, and you don't have to worry about it because everything will be affected. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. Buoy in the Typhoon, yep. Can you make a 1/144 scale Gato into an RC model? Oh, everything is possible. Everything is possible, but it takes time, talent, and money. Can you do it? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say absolutely you could do it. Would you want to do it? Maybe. If you're a sucker for punishment, I can't do it. Like, I have big fat fingers. They don't fit in little tiny cylinders. So if small boats turn your crank, then go for it. I think the smallest one I saw was like the 1/144th kilo. And that was at Groton. And I don't remember the individual. It was just a young kid. He had it. Man, did he have that set up nicely. It was a custom cylinder, a 1.25 inch diameter watertight cylinder that Dave Merriman custom engineered for that boat. Holy hell. That's just like masochism. Andy MC. Hey, Bob, do you ever use Vaseline on your O-rings in your watertight cylinder? I do, and I'm wondering if it would break down the rubber of the O-rings over time. Yeah, will. Vaseline is a petroleum-based product. It's going to eat your O-rings over time. Silicone oil. This stuff right here is what I use. I don't typically use grease because if you use grease on those large seals, it is prone to trapping contaminants like all this little crappy stuff sitting all over my workbench. And if it traps a piece of that against the O-ring when you're working on your boat, when you go to close up your cylinder, it can create a gap whereby water can enter your cylinder. If it's a dry O-ring, odds are good that it's not going to do anything, or oil, it's not going to do anything. So I highly recommend silicone oil. Silicone oil is exceptionally inert when it comes to interaction with seals, except in the case of pure silicone seals, but those are typically reserved for like food grade products and that kind of thing. So silicone oil, if you're going to lubricate your big seals for your cylinder, I would use just a few drops of oil around the perimeter just to lubricate things. All right. KMC should create a water detector ballast blow device. I actually have a water detector device that outputs to a servo output. So, hey,
check out my website, Water Detector Circuit, that's put out by a gentleman by the name of Tim out of the UK. It is very cool, and the cool thing about it's got an LED output in there, so you could, for example, put the detector leads in the bottom of your cylinder and then have the LED light up in the top of your sail. So if you are tooling around and you see an LED light come on, you'll know that you got water in your cylinder. NautilusDryDocks.com, check out the water detector. There you go. And we're caught up. David Perry's talking about RC conversion of the old Revell Type 7 into a dynamic diving. So the Revell of Germany, if that's what you're talking about, the 72nd scale. Although I think they did a 1/144 scale too. Maybe you're talking about that one. Again, that's a tiny boat. David's here. That's the first comment that I've seen. Dave, it is good to see you. Bow my head to the master. Thank you for joining us. We would not all be here right now if it weren't for Dave, because basically he made it possible for everybody to get commercially available watertight cylinders. And without that, we would have to be building all of our own, and there would be a lot more submarines sitting at the bottom of the pond. So thank you, Dave, for joining us. You are the man. You will always be the man. Thanks for having us. All right. Oh, caught up. 8.5 minutes left in my 1 hour monologue talking about RC submarines. Now's your chance to ask questions. I'm going to keep drinking my cucumber flavored sparkling water while you guys think about more questions. Nothing going on? Anybody building anything they've got any questions with? You need to think about Dive Tribe, seriously, guys. If for no other reason, it's a great chance just to talk submarines and learn from everybody else, but you get to see their projects too. Nick Monahan is doing some absolutely amazing thing with Arduino, talking about that. We got Frank Salerno, who's building a massive Seaview with like remote controlled popping decks and like crazy things. Due diligence talked about sturgeon. Yeah, late summer-ish. Dave could probably answer that a little bit more, but yeah, that's sort of the timeline. Sturgeon's such a cool looking boat. And if I remember correctly, David Merriman says it's one of the best running modern boats that he has ever had the chance to operate. Nick Commande asked about the blueprints for the Nautilus that I had hanging on the wall in one of my YouTube videos. Those are put out by a very talented individual by the name of David McCammett. All right. He did a very limited run of interior blueprints for the Nautilus. He basically worked out in his own mind what the interior of this fictional submarine might potentially look like. I believe if you go to volcaniavolunteers.com, they may have a couple of those blueprints still available for purchase. So if that turns your crank, you can go check that out. Chris talked about setup of the front dive planes for Astute. That was so long ago. So the challenge with those front dive planes, if I remember correctly, they're set fairly far back and fairly high in the hull. So, but basically all you need to do is create a U connector in there and just run that linkage to the bottom of the dive plane horn. This is not, magic. If you really can't figure it out, email me, okay, and maybe we can do some sketches or something like that and try and walk you through it. It's absolutely not witchcraft, and it's super easy to do. So just basically you need to make a U connector that'll push, backwards across the top of the watertight cylinder to actuate the dive planes. All right. Dave said another month and the sturgeon is out of here from the man himself. So it is end of April, so end of May, and then it comes to me, and then we got to set it up for production. So like June, so like, yeah, July, August-ish, something like that. You have a Concept 2 coming. Any idea what subdriver I need? I think you could put a 3-inch subdriver in that. That's a fairly beanie boat. I think that would work well with a 3-inch cylinder, the Concept 2. That's a cool boat. Dennis DeBoer does that particular boat. For anybody that's interested in that, I've done a couple videos, maybe one video of a surface running version of that boat. Super slick. Super slick. You got to check it out. Did anyone do an RC of the Sequest model? No, not that I'm aware of. And actually, I haven't seen anybody send me any pictures of even a static buildup of those. I have set aside for myself the beginnings of an RC conversion for the Sequest, and I plan eventually one day, probably in my retirement, to finish it up. But that'll be really, really cool to do. Is the Millennium Falcon finished? No, it's coming up soon. It's sitting over there. If you take a look at the beginning of the video, had some video of where it's currently at right now. Got lots of things going on. He's got lots of things going on. He's sick right now, not with COVID. He had a COVID test. But we're still working on it. Let's see here. 2.5. I'm struggling with the whole trim operation. Is it just my math? If you are using math to trim your boat, you're probably going about it the wrong way. Trimming a submarine is just as much about math as it is about art. I have an article on my website under the blog section called 3 Easy Steps for Trimming Your Submarine. It's how I go about trimming all of my submarines. 3 steps, 3 things that you need to keep in mind when you are trimming your submarine. You basically start out eyeballing a lot of things and rapidly find out that you were grossly misinformed mentally about where things needed to be, and you just simply work through the process. Again, Dive Tribe would be a perfect place to talk about this with people who have done this many, many, many times. But to start, check out my blog article on my website under Bob's Blogs, Trimming Your Submarine. 3 Easy Steps for Trimming Your Submarine, or something like that. You will be able to find it, and hopefully it'll be able to walk you through it. Thing I'm worried about is RC remote and interfering with other radios, or however it works. Don't worry about it. Next question. Sorry. So low frequency radios, 72, 75 megahertz, have basically gone the way of the dodo. The only people still using them are like 85-year-old like RC plane guys, maybe 85-year-old RC boat guys, and we sub skippers who run their boats submerged. The FCC basically said, hey guys, don't worry about it. Nobody's using this frequency anymore. Don't be stupid about it. You're not going to affect anything. Don't run your submarines next to an RC airfield, and you're not going to crash anybody's aircraft. Please don't be stupid about this, because I don't want to have to do any more work pulling your radios and your submarine away from you. That's for 72 megahertz. 75 megahertz is absolutely perfectly fine. Everybody here who's run submarines has run them for years and years and years and never had a problem. The only thing you need to worry about is if you've got other sub-skippers running on your frequency band, which is why when you get together with other RC sub-skippers, typically you will see a frequency board. And in order to turn your transmitter on, not to run your boat, in order to turn your transmitter on, you need to have the frequency clip. It needs to be on your radio, and if you do not have the frequency clip, you cannot turn your radio on. All right? Repeat, don't turn it on when you're running with other people. 2.4 gigahertz has that advantage. You're never going to have overlapping frequencies. You're never going to take control of somebody else's boat and chop their fingers off inadvertently and that kind of thing, but you're going to be relegated to surface operation. I've gone into that before. 2.4 gigahertz has its limitations, but it has its advantages. I've run lots of RC submarines in 2.4 gigahertz and have had an absolute blast doing so. If you set your RC failsafe up properly, you never even know you lose contact with the boat. It just comes back up and you go about driving it as usual. So, there you go. Tethered versus non-tethered submarine. It's not really a submarine if you got a tether on it. I'm just saying, it's like an ROV or something like that, dude. With a tether, you're dragging all sorts of cable around. You can foul it in your prop. You can foul it in other people's props. It's going to impact the performance of your boat. It's going to impact the looks of your boat. Don't do it. It's not as fun. I've driven tons of tethered submarines, like ROVs and that kind of thing, and having to deal with that cable is a royal pain in the butt. Don't do it. All right? Did someone just ask if you put the foam low? Abby Normal Brain, get the hell off my channel. Maybe that was mean. I'm sorry. Read my blog. No, you're wrong. Put it the other way up. Foam goes high, ballast goes low. Ray Perry wants to send me a picture of his project. Email it to bob@rc-sub.com at any time, and I will take a look at it and stroke your ego accordingly. Opinion on synthesized receivers. They're absolutely awesome. Never had a problem with them. The Sombra Labs SL8s, I still lament the fact that they were not making those anymore. They're awesome. I got to the bottom. It's an hour and 1 minute and 53 seconds, and I am absolutely bagged. You guys have been awesome, keeping me busy. 64 people. This is one of the more busy things that I've had. And Abby Normal Brain. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to be mean. Foam does not go low. It goes high. I don't know why you would think foam would go low, but it goes high. Read the blog. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm totally sorry. All right. Okay. I'm done. I am going to let you guys go. Enjoy your Thursday evening. And I want you all guys to have an awesome night. Thank you for joining me. It's awesome to see you. Keep checking the events page of my website for the next scheduled YouTube live video, as well as Dive Tribe gathering. So check that out. And you'll also see events like the Regatta in Carmel and Subfest. So there you go. This is Bob Martin, the RC Sub Guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com, and I am going home. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.